how invested should all of us be in this technology?
So first of all, I think it's important to recognize that quantum computers are already all around us. So right now, IBM provides you with the opportunity to log into one of their quantum computers, but these are very, very small quantum computers, and they can't really do any useful applications. So they only have a handful of qubits. And there's some technologies who have the potential to really scale to much larger qubit numbers. So to qubit numbers where you can solve really interesting problems. And this is a field I work in. So we handle, or we work with individual charged atoms or ions. These form the core of this quantum computer. Now, quantum computing is highly disruptive and a technology that will very much change the way we live and work. At the same time, it's also extremely challenging to build practical and useful quantum computers. So far in my lab and in the laboratories around the world, there are already quantum computers standing there. These quantum computers can't really do much useful things. They are proof of principle machines that demonstrate that the technology indeed is working and functional. So what we're doing right now is we really scale quantum computing to large qubit numbers. So imagine you have a memory stick, but instead of a gigabyte, you only have 2 bits on your memory stick. Couldn't really save much on this memory stick, could you? You could walk around with your memory stick and show people, actually, look, I've saved something here on my memory stick. But that's kind of where quantum computers are right now. So people walk around and say, okay, it works, the principle works. But you couldn't save a file on this memory stick on a 2-bit memory stick. And so what we're building right now, and this is something where we're in an extremely exciting age, we're starting to build big machines. So the company I co-founded, I'm the chief scientist, Universal Quantum, we're now making the transition to really develop the technology to build million qubit quantum computers. So machines that can really, really do interesting things. Now, this is not something which happens until tomorrow. So there's plenty of time to learn about this technology and also work along with us and others in order to develop the applications. But I think it's important to have some appreciation of what goes inside these machines in order to get a feeling of what they can do, also what they can't do. So these are not wonder machines that can just trivially solve just any problem. These are no magic boxes or something like that. These are machines that work on underlying principles, very strange principles indeed, but tamed and focused in the right direction, are capable of solving these interesting problems. And I think engaging with quantum computing is very important as a user and as a customer. But equally, for me personally, it's never been a better reason to study STEM subjects, to actually really engage in something which is so absolutely mind-blowing that it should really motivate school children from the age of 4 years old to really get into the sciences. Like when I was young, I wanted to be science officer on the Enterprise. That's how I got into physics. I wanted to develop teleportation. Indeed, teleportation is something I work on right now because that is also part of quantum computing. So we can do this in our lab, only on a single atomic scale, but nevertheless, we make use of this. I think what quantum computing does is a little bit like the space program in the 1960s and 70s when people were really excited to go to the moon. Now we're starting to tame these very strange quantum phenomena, and with that we can build entirely new technologies. So next time when you know any person in high school and they're going to complain about the horrible exam where they have to calculate the mass, the velocity of a mass sliding down some angle alpha, we should remind that student that these problems have nothing to do with why physics is so important and so cool. This is just learning the language. So once you've learned the language of physics, you can actually work on these unbelievably exciting problems, such as taming entanglement, making use of superposition, handling teleportation in a machine you build. All these kind of things. This is now where we are with physics, and this is why it's so exciting right now to work in physics in general, and particularly in quantum computing, where we can really tame these very strange phenomena. In my lab at the University of Sussex, we hold in microchips individual atoms. So when you come to the lab, you can with your hand, you can move one atom at a time, and you can go further. You can put this atom into a superposition state where it is at two places at the same time. You can do all these things, and this is what blows my mind every time when I go in the lab, when I work on this tremendous and mind-blowing science is that we have now really the tools available to look at the very fabric of nature.
Is it fair to say that there are three main ways of approaching quantum computing? And if there are more, describe them to me, but I've picked up that there are three main ways. What are these ways?
So companies like Google and IBM use a technique called superconducting qubits. So these are superconducting circuits, and in order to make them work, you have to cool the microchip all the way to minus 273 degrees Celsius. That's in a very, very massive refrigerator, and maybe more challengingly, the cooling power, so the ability to cool a large object at such a small temperature is very small. And so while these devices have delivered really amazing results with small qubit numbers, it becomes really difficult to imagine scaling something like that to useful qubit numbers, so to millions of qubits. What we develop in my group at the University of Sussex makes use of trapped ions. So these are charged atoms. And the nice thing about that is that the microchip can actually be at room temperature, or only requires very mild cooling. This allows us to really imagine scaling this to really large qubit numbers. And so this is maybe the hardware platform which so far has demonstrated the best specifications. So the smallest error in each quantum operation, and the capability to scale to large qubit numbers. So these two are often recognized as the leading platforms to build quantum computers. But there's some extra platforms which are also very interesting to investigate. So I wouldn't just say they're free, but maybe there are two primary platforms, and then there's a few others which are also very interesting, but which may just take a few more years to further develop. So it's good to develop multiple approaches, because while one approach may be the first approach to deliver a useful quantum computer, and I think that's probably trapped ions will have that role. Other approaches may have a capability to produce much smaller quantum computers. It may take another 10 or 20 years for these approaches to become mature enough, but nevertheless, they might have inherent advantages. And so that's why we develop these different approaches, not because we don't know which maybe approach might be the fastest, but because we want to have we learn a lot from developing different techniques, and there's inherent advantages which may crystallize later, maybe in some other platforms.
Maybe there could be a collaboration of all the different techniques somehow.
That's right, absolutely. So we learn from the results in other hardware platforms, and other hardware platforms learn from the results in our research. So research often delivers tremendously interesting results, even when it's not directed, when you just explore a wider scope, because accidentally you just uncover things that can be useful much beyond for your original intent. So absolutely, this is very helpful, and we collaborate with lots of different research groups and using different hardware platforms in order to get to our goal of building practical machines faster.